From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop Dbacks, the primetime capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTimeAngles. And boy, oh boy, man, what a weekend was it in the boxing world. Bud Crawford makes history as the first two-division undisputed champ with a masterful performance versus unified champ Errol Spence Jr. And I know the nitpickers will be, we already had a champ that was a two-division undisputed champ. We've had plenty of undisputed champs that were a part of two divisions, but he's the first ever four champion of the two divisions. Okay, so that's where we get that kind of clarified. But all in all, though, I would say that you could say Errol was undisputed as well, too. Even though he never had the WBO belt, literally IBF, WBA, WBC, those are the three belts that really do count the most. WBO kind of just adds on intrigue, and they just didn't want to keep making them feel so like unincluded since so many guys were actually going after that belt. You know what I mean? And and the way that they got recognized because they paid the deed to get recognized. Do you know what I mean? But I still think the IBO is a better belt than the WBO. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But when you get down to the fight was not close at all. Bud Crawford absolutely dominated Errol Spence to the surprise of the whole boxing world, because we truly felt it was a 50-50 fight. It was really hard to tell these two apart. But when you went into the fight and you went into this fight week, you felt like Bud's crew was a little bit more confident going in, and they were really kind of like, okay, we've been here before, where everybody feels like Bud is not on his opponent's level. And, pretty much now let's go ahead and silence the critics that he never fought anybody. Well, there's a reason why people don't want to fight Bud Crawford. It showed Saturday. And there was a reason why people avoided Errol Spence for a long time as well, too. But this fight was in the perfect setting, Las Vegas, at the T-Mobile Arena. It was the event of the week, period, point blank. Even though we had another undisputed fight in Japan that was huge, nothing dwarfed the fight night that happened in Las Vegas on Saturday night. And it was an absolutely amazing sight to see all the celebrities in the house and everybody finally getting to see these two get it on in the ring. But when you looked at the fight, you could tell a little bit early on, especially me in the first round, Errol did establish the jab and things were looking like, oh, Errol's business as usual. But the last 25 seconds or so, when Bud opened up that first 1-2 combination that landed flush, I was like, uh-oh, this fight is going to be a lot different than most think it's going to be. It looks like Bud's going to do kind of whatever he wants to do tonight. And then the second round came around and he knocked Spence down. And I know that the whole world said, whoa, all at once. So once we got to that point, you pretty much knew what time it was, and it turned into a fillet, simply like Bud said it was going to be. And Bud saved his best for this, period, point blank. Errol Spence does have some excuses, though, coming in. He was very drained. I know Errol Spence. That's the whole thing. I know Derek James. I know how they operate. These guys are consummate professionals. But Errol has always walked around at a certain weight, 165, 170 or so, and it gets really tough to keep getting down to 147 as you get older. And he's 32, 33 years old now, so making 147 isn't as easy when you're not walking around at that ideal weight. when you're walking around at a weight that's about 30, 40 pounds heavier than it. So he spent a lot more time, I think, cutting down on his weight. And then pretty much by the time he got to Saturday, he was absolutely dead. And boxers have gone through this with cutting weight. And literally, you go into the fight and you have no energy. But that's no excuse because he signed the contract and he thought he would be good enough at 147. And also taking 16 months off, that wasn't helpful for Errol either. So pretty much, Bud Crawford getting that tune-up was maybe the difference in the fight on Saturday. And, you know, a lot of people laughed and people got mad because he wanted a tune-up, but Bud has been in the game a lot longer than Errol, and he understood the reasons why you need a tune-up when you've been off for so long. And if Errol would have just took the Keith Thurman fight like he was supposed to months back, then I think we would have been in a better position with this fight. And I think pretty much the fight didn't go the way that it should have went because this was supposed to be so much closer than what would happen. And pretty much you got to just give all the credit in the world to Bud Crawford because Bud Crawford's a guy that a lot have pretty much overlooked in his time. And they'll say, no, we haven't. No, we haven't. Yes, you have. Bud Crawford probably got the most complaints out of any boxer that's at an elite level I've ever seen in my life. People felt like he wasn't fighting anybody. People felt like he was he wasn't marketable. He wasn't box office type of guy. He's all of that. It's just that the people that were promoting him didn't want to push him to that top level because they felt like he wasn't a chosen one. And that's all it truly is at the end of the day. But the fight happened. People had their moment. People who were rooting for Crawford, they are the head-ish talker for the week. You know, they have all the say, they have all the receipts, all that good stuff. Errol fans, you guys are absolutely great too because you guys stuck by your guy and you guys went hard in the paint for him every single day until this fight, and then still went hard in the paint for him after the result happened. So both sides can be commended for their loyalty, but I will say this, Errol's side was a little bit more louder about their love for Errol. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of the people who said that they're rooting for Bud Crawford really were just rooting for Errol Spence to lose because who his advisor is and who his promoter is and which company he fights with. And I think that's absolutely rotten. And I think that's a stupid way of looking at a boxing match. If you really are a boxing fan, promoters don't matter to you. Managers don't matter to you. Trainers don't matter to you. The only thing that matters are the two boxers that jump into the ring and do the fighting. The rest of this stuff is all theater for people to nitpick and have opinions about. It's that simple, okay? So all in all, I would love to see a rematch at 154 because you know what? It deserves a rematch, in my opinion, because a guy like Errol Spence, he can't go out like this and lose like this. And, you know, I always feel like guys can use this as the greatest motivation to put themselves back in the race. And I feel like if he can fight at a more comfortable weight, this will be a different fight. But Bud Crawford showed that he has power that's unbelievable in a sense as well, too. You didn't know he was this powerful. You always thought, man, 135, 140. Yeah, you know, sometimes these guys got some glass chins. But no, he parked Errol Spence and he made them stop the fight. And that was his 10th consecutive knockout in the welterweight division. So literally, he doesn't have to fight another day at 147. He can just move on along to 154 if he wants to. And pretty much, I hate to say it, but Charlo, you got to get ready because he's going to be fighting you soon too. So this is beautiful stuff. They've actually pretty much helped the Bud Crawford star get the shine that it's always deserved. Now Bud Crawford is a no doubt about it Hall of Famer. Bud Crawford is a no doubt about it legend. He's a no doubt about it pound for pound number one. Everything has fell into place, and we can just stop any fighter of the year talk now because the fighter of the year got crowned on Saturday night. And so with that, congratulations to Bud Crawford. And also, A very quick recovery for Errol Spence Jr. as well too. And also, thank you for making sure the fight happened. And you guys absolutely won as well too, because at the end of the day, both these guys got their career paydays, and much props to both parties. And thank you so much for making sure that you guys made this fight happen. All right, so with that, it's over and done with. Now we got other things to talk about. No more this, that, and the third, but this arrow that is over with. Let's go ahead and move on. Talk about some Michigan football. Will Michigan be able to keep their winning ways going after the Harbaugh scandal? Harbaugh's out the first 4 games of the season. That's all and that's because it's a level 2 recruiting violations for him. And pretty much it happened because he was doing too much, not paying attention to what was going on. And pretty much it's just college football, college sports in general, of where these guys are getting these extracurricular situations and coaches get caught for it. But when you're a coach that's at a big time school like Michigan, and it's not anything that's blatant, they'll just go ahead and give you a 4-game suspension. But if he was still losing to Ohio State, it would be a big problem, to be honest with you. It would be a major problem, because all in all, this guy could have been fired if things were not going well at Michigan. So it's very good for him that they've had a really good last 2 years, because if this would have happened 5-6 years ago, we probably would have seen Harbaugh out at Michigan. But at this point right now, Michigan is just getting watched a little bit more. And after that little issue that occurred with Michigan State, they have to make sure that, things are on a fair playing ground as well too, because it's just weird how good Michigan's got over these last few years, and they didn't really have teams like that before. And so you have to question it a little bit. And I think Harbaugh will learn from this, because it's something that is stupid, but at the same time, it's a very serious situation, and it does not bode well for your program moving forward if their coach is out the first 4 games and say you go 1-3. And I think that a lot of times the motivation of Harbaugh is the difference in this team winning and losing in some games as well too. So this is a key suspension going into the season, and it's going to be spotlighted in each and every game that Michigan plays to start the year off. So Michigan is looking to keep their dominant run of the Big Ten going with a third undefeated season in the conference. So there's a lot of things that play into that, and they have to make sure that, they have all hands on deck, and at this point they don't. So when you look at the way it sets up, Michigan plays 4 games that are absolutely kind of walkovers for them, but these games become a little bit more difficult because they don't have their head coach. And now the coordinators have to figure out who's the head coach. They have to figure out how they're going to get these plays in a timely manner, all that good stuff. So it's a real learning curve, but it's good for these guys too, because it gives the assistants the opportunity to kind of show other college programs that they can run their programs as well too. So there's a lot that goes into this, but I truly do feel that Michigan got off the hook a little bit more cleaner than other teams would have if it wasn't Michigan. If it was, say, like Northwestern's whole coach got fired because he didn't pay attention to the hazing situation. So, it's just little things like that. It's just schools that you work with and work for, and the success of those schools that really determine how the school's going to go about your punishments and how the NCAA goes about punishing the school. And I think that this is absolutely a great example of it. A coach who is very good for TV, very good for the business of college football. You're not going to sit up in here and put the guy out for a year. You're not going to sit up in here and fire the guy like most lesser coaches would have got. So You just got to deal with it and move on. All right. So with that, we move to our next topic. And our next topic is going to be this. This is going to be Dalvin Cook has become top priority for Jets and free agency as they build around Rodgers. Well, they are trying their best to get him on the team. He was in New York all weekend, having a good time, having a lot of different meetings and things of that nature. New York showing their interest, saying that they do want him to be a part of their franchise, and they have a vision of a possible Super Bowl this year or next year, and they feel like they have the team that can be in place to be that team. If you do get Dalvin Cook, that does give you the rear view for winning the AFC East, because now you have an established hard-nosed runner in the backfield. And this can give Aaron Rodgers so much relief to where Aaron Rodgers does not have to go out there and save them every Sunday, to where they got a guy that can ice a game away for them when they're up 10 points in the fourth quarter and a team is in the momentum's on the other side. They literally do need to make this move, or they need to find a significant running back somewhere on the market. Breece Hall, hell of a player, but Breece Hall is coming off a torn ACL. Will he be the same player? That's the biggest question. And that's why running backs are having their issue right now, because running backs seem to have season-ending injuries whenever, at any point of their career. It seems like it's inevitable that they'll have a season-ending injury. So that's another factor in why their money is kind of shorter than it used to be. I do kind of understand why you won't pay a running back $20 million a year. You're literally giving money away when you do that, because the guy in reality can only play 80% of the season for you, because you know that you have to have a point in time where you got to let the guy rest just a little bit. And every running back has some type of nagging injury that they have to deal with. But that doesn't mean that you don't pay them for what they contribute to your team. If they're the top player on your team, you need to take care of them. And when it comes down to Dalvin Cook will probably be the Jets' top player when it's really all said and done. And pretty much he is a piece that's needed for them to even think about getting to a conference championship, in my opinion. Because if you look at Dalvin Cook the same way that the Bucs looked at Leonard Fournette, this will work. But if you look at it in a sense to where, he might cost too much, and the money, and blah, 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 then just go ahead and be ready to finish third place in the AFC East. It's that simple. But if you want to make a move and you want to make sure that you keep Rodgers protected and you keep Rodgers upright and you keep Rodgers to the point to where he's not going to be on the IR every week, then you go get Dalvin Cook, so you can pair him with Breece Hall, so then you can have one of the more influent running games in the NFL. It has to be on their mind, and on their mind very steady. I think that if they're going to make a move on Dalvin Cook, it's going to be this week. If they don't, then they'll probably move on. But Dalvin Cook seems to be closer and closer to signing with one of these teams. But the Jets seem like they're the most eager to make sure that this deal happens. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. If the Jets are able to sign Dalvin Cook, they will become the favorite to win the AFC East. You can go ahead and book that right now. All right, so let's go ahead and get to my final topic, which is a fun one because it has to do with the MLB Trade Deadline. And MLB Trade Deadline, who needs a big move? When you look at these teams, who needs a big move? I would say right now, I think the Braves would need a big move. I think the Braves should bolster up that bullpen a little bit. Braves could possibly try to go get another bat as well, too. Something that's not a starter or anything like that, but a guy who's a good platoon guy that you can rotate in and out the lineup and everything like that, like they did with Jock Peterson years ago when he helped them win a World Series. So you have that working out in that regard. And then also they possibly could use a good setup man to just give them the players for the playoffs, because the playoffs get a lot harder. Games aren't going to be 8-4, 8-2, and 8-3, and things like that. Games wind up being 3-3, and we in the middle of the night, going to the middle of the ninth, or games 4-3 going into the ninth inning. So there's a lot of things that factor into how you go about your business in the MLB on the trade deadline. I think the Braves would not be doing anything wrong if they added some key pieces, but the Braves might have everything in store. The Rays, that team is falling apart, and they don't want to give up much off the farm. So they'll probably have to get some guys that are more as platoon players, good analytical players. That's what they'll probably be looking at if they're going to add anything here before the deadline. Now, a team that's been working and been the most active, and nobody's been saying that much about it, but they need to, is going to be the Angels. The Angels made a deal yesterday that would have been a blockbuster if it was any other team. CJ Cron and Ryan Gukachuk are two very solid players, and Colorado is so bad that you can't talk about guys like that. But CJ Cron is one of the better hitters in the MLB, and getting him was huge because it does kind of make up for the fact that you don't have Mike Trout here. And so pretty much the Angels are all in on getting that final playoff spot. And you got to respect it as an MLB fan, and you got to love it if you are an Angels fan. And I told you guys that the Angels were serious about making the playoffs this year, and that they were going to make the proper moves to show their star player, Ohtani, that they will do whatever it takes to keep him here and to make the playoffs at the same time. Because I keep trying to get you guys to understand, nobody's outbidding Artie Moreno when it comes to signing Ohtani. What's going to happen is that Ohtani's going to make a choice about, does he want to stay with a team that he's used to and that he already has a rapport with, or does he want to go out and explore the other establishments in the MLB? He did not come out and say, you know what, I'm out of here at the end of the year. So the Angels have done everything possible. They got Lucas Giolito last week. So they got 3 guys that have played in all-star games, all that stuff. So they have the players in place that can help them compete here in the month of August and the month of September. Y'all have to remember, if you're chasing the playoffs, your season's 2 months. It's no more, hey, you know what, we got time. You got 8 weeks. 8 weeks. That's it. 8 weeks to get yourself in order to get yourself to the end goal, and that's to the second season, the playoffs. It's that simple. So the Angels have done what teams do to get to the second season. So you have to give them their props. The Rangers just got swept this weekend, but they just got Max Scherzer as well too. I think that's a bit of a reach, but we'll see how it goes. They had to do it though, because they had to solidify themselves with a established ace, and their established ace is out for the season in DeGrom. So we get that part. Then you have the Twins, who did nothing, but the Twins have the best pitching staff, I think, of the top teams. The East, it's tough for them to make any deals. You knew Baltimore probably wasn't making any deals. Blue Jays, they haven't really made any deals either. You thought they would have made a deal by now. Red Sox did a deal with the Dodgers, which was very minor, very simple. Also, you have a very good situation going on in the West. But the Dodgers, we'll get to that in a minute when we get to Blue Crew Daily. The Giants haven't made any moves yet, but it's still time. And also, you haven't seen the Diamondbacks make any moves either. And the Padres seem kind of content on trying to chase this final playoff spot. They could have gave up a lot to get back assets and get back foreign players, but they decided that they're going to try to catch the Dodgers and catch the Giants and the Diamondbacks. So, hey, they did set the team up in that regard to be a top team in the MLB. So why not give it an opportunity, right? So you have that. And then we look at am I missing anybody? You look at the Central, the Brewers haven't made a deal. You knew the Reds weren't going to make a deal. The Cubs have kind of decided to say, you know what, we're going to keep these guys that we were saying that we were going to trade here, but they're probably going to get rid of Stroman because they're going to be able to get a king's ransom for Stroman, and they know that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But MLB trade deadline, we're keeping our eyes glued on it. Tomorrow should be a willing and dealing day because the deadline is coming. So there it is. There it is. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. And when I get back, we are going to jump into Blue Crew Daily. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop Dbacks, the Primetime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop Dbacks, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, there it is. And if you are following my bets today on Twitter, we have the Prescott Downs going, and we got the early double. So we got the back-to-back. If you play the daily double with my two key horses in the first 2 races, you made a quick 1750. But if you put a little bit more on there, you make a little bit more. So it is what it is, and pretty much ice cold daily double. So so we hit that daily double. Yeah, but we got some fun to talk about now. We got the Dodgers. I can get a little bit more into their trade situations as well, too, this weekend. And also the Rays have just traded for Aaron Savali from the Indians. So the Indians, not the Indians, but the Guardians. So they're pretty much saying that it's probably the season for them. I think. I don't know yet. But Savali, but you know what? The Guardians do have a lot of different situations that help them be able to make deals happen. You know what I mean? So pretty much Dodgers lose 4 out of 6 last week, filling the motions as they bring in new personnel for the stretch run. Now, the Dodgers brought in Lance Lynn, former All-Star, former World Series champion with the Astros as well, too. Strikeout guy as well. They also brought back in Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly, who's a very famous fan favorite because of what he did against the Astros years ago, sticking his tongue out at Carlos Carrera, blah, 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 blah. But that was pretty fun because that was a motivational for the Dodgers as they made their run to that World Series that year as well, too. So Joe Kelly's a part of a group that was very, loving of each other. So the Dodger fans really took to that, and they brought him back, and they brought back another fan favorite in Kike Hernandez as well, too. But these guys are good dugout guys. They're good locker room guys. And they were there for the Dodgers when they won their last championship. And the Dodgers felt like they needed guys like this back in the dugout. They didn't need to go get some superstar or go get some super pitcher or something of that nature. They just needed to go get guys that wanted to, be in LA and help the stretch run, you know, and not be guys that they have to depend on to be superstars for them. Just guys that can be really good role players, because the Dodgers want to get to the point to where they don't want to just have the biggest payroll and not have the results. You see, there's another team that does that, and they're literally, you know, literally were on the verge of getting rid of their best player, but decided not to. That's the Angels. The Angels spent a decade having some of the best rosters in baseball, hitter-wise, and they still couldn't do anything. So the Dodgers have seen that, and they know that they've been far more successful with the strategy that they've had. Build around a few of these superstar hitters and bring in guys that are good pros. It's that simple. And that's what they got with the three guys that they just added to the team. Now, the Dodgers aren't done yet, but I would just already tell you off top, I would think that you can't put Justin Verlander in your queue for being a guy that the Dodgers are going to get, because he just costs too much at this point. Also, you can't put yourself in the position where you're going to go get Nolan Arenado. No, that's not possible, because you have to give up too much for these guys. And I feel like the Mets, they were only going to give up one of those guys, and they gave Scherzer. And Verlander is a guy who's on a no-trade clause as well, too, so he probably might not want to leave either. So, you know, the Dodgers, the fans want to go get the names, but the Dodger management knows that they have to go get the fits. It's a different. You feel what I'm saying? So losing this last 4 out of 6 was key, because the Dodgers pretty much lucked out somewhat, because Arizona lost their series this weekend. The Giants, they lost their series this weekend, I think, as well, too. Did they? No, the Giants actually won their series this weekend. I'm sorry. So pretty much the Giants won their series. The Diamondbacks lost their series. When you look at the standings now, the Dodgers find themselves only 2 games ahead of their arch rival Giants. The Dodgers are 59 and 45. Giants are 58 and 48. And they're 4 games ahead of Arizona now. So pretty much that dipped into two that shaved off 2 games for the Giants. And them and the Dodgers are on a collision course to play each other fairly soon. You know what I mean? Well, actually, they're going to go a month without playing each other. But in September, they play each other 6 times in the last 9 days of the month. So this right here is a key month for both teams. And I think that they're both are going to have a battle right now here to get possibly the same player, you know, for their stretch drive during the trade deadline. So the Dodgers and Giants just aren't competing in the field. They also are competing in the front offices as well, too. So this should be a very good, fun month of August as we decide exactly where we're going to go here in the MLB, because I can tell you right now, you have 10 teams right now that are all still in the race, and you got 3 teams that are pretty much locked in for the playoffs. And I'm talking about National League. American League seems pretty set from what it's looking like, you know, but the National League, no. This is a very, very strong league, and literally there's teams outside of the playoffs right now that look like they can make the playoffs. Now, when you look at the American League, you probably have about 1 race, but really it's all about what goes down in the AL East, pretty much, because the AL East looks like they are guaranteed to get 3 teams in there. You have to finish in the top 3, though, and right now they're teams that are all chasing the top 3 are not that far apart from each other. So it's a fun year of baseball. I would probably say this, that baseball is kicking both the NFL and the NBA's butt when it comes to actual gameplay this year, because both of those leagues are really, really close. Every game is literally 50-50, and bad teams whooping up on good teams, and good teams having great matchups. It's just a fun season all in general. But the Dodgers start off their August with a very fun schedule in a sense, you know. they find themselves starting with Oakland for a 3-game stretch. Then they got to go to San Diego for the weekend and a Monday, and then they have to go play Arizona. So they're spending. So they have themselves a 9-game stretch coming up, and it looks like that they're only going to get 2 days off in that time as well too. So literally playing out the next 7 out of 9 days. So the Dodgers have to keep their head on and keep everything going in the right direction, because things do get a little tougher, and I'm just going off their first 9 days of August. And from what I can see here, they got 2 series that are very important towards the division, but then they have a series where if they slip up just a little bit, they can wind up losing that series as well too. The Dodgers seem to have some fits against these really bad teams this year, so we'll see how it goes and see how it shakes out. Man, don't nobody need to retire. Look, we already talked about boxing, Rail, but don't nobody need to retire, man. Just everybody trying to be advisors and things like that. It's the hurt business. It's boxing. It happens. People going to be you're not gonna come out of a boxing match and be good and be great, even if you win the fight. At the end of the day, Errol Spence went in there, they fought, he lost, we move on. They can fight again at 154. If you want to participate and watch the fight again, you can watch the fight again. If you don't want to watch the fight again, then don't watch the fight again. At the end of the day, it's just business. It's boxing. It happens. Somebody had to win. Somebody had to lose. He didn't take the beating of all beatings. I've seen guys get beat way worse than that. So it is what it is at the end of the day, man. And people will have their opinions. Everybody's an advisor. Everybody knows what they're talking about, even though they never stepped in the ring, even though they never done any of that. It's opinions. At the end of the day, it's a game of opinions, and that's it, and that's all. So pretty much, Warriors don't retire. That's what it is. They didn't tell Canelo he needed to retire after getting whooped by Bivol. So why y'all telling Errol he needs to retire? That makes no sense at all to me, man, at all. And it'll piss off a lot of people because it's just not logical. It's just something to talk about. That's all it is, man. And I think that they're just literally taking away from a guy who's already achieved so much in the game and trying to literally say, retire so then we can all have a joke about Bud retiring you. See, that's what y'all don't understand, is because if he retires, then you're going to call him a punk. And, it's just at the end of the day, it's just people talking. Who cares? Talk is cheap. You know what I mean? And it's something that you can do. And if people want to listen to you and agree with you, good for you. But if somebody wants to sit back and argue with you all day about it, then that's what you signed up for, because you got an opinion, they got an opinion. But it is what it is. It's not going to change the result of what happened. And we've been here before. It's not a new thing, and we just move on. That's what we do. That's life. All right, so let's talk about MLB Monday Night. We got a lot of different storylines going throughout the week. We have, like I said, we got a unique situation. You know what I mean? You got Atlanta 11.5 games up. They're kind of dealing with their they're going through the motions a little bit, but Atlanta's doing well. Cincinnati finds themselves up a half a game at the end of the weekend because the Brewers wound up having to go and play against the Braves this weekend. Reds went out to LA and kind of shocked the baseball world a little bit and wound up taking 2 out of 3. And Milwaukee wound up getting swept. So that's what happens this weekend, because they wind up, it's crazy. In the 9-game stretch, they went 3-6 and still only down a half a game because they beat the Reds 2 out of 3. So they have that working in their favor because they do own the tiebreaker with the Reds this year. So now they're back to going back and forth with the Reds, but the Reds are back in first place. The Dodgers, as I already said, they're up 2 games. You look at Baltimore and Tampa still have the same amount of wins. It's just that Tampa Bay has 3 more losses than they do. And so now they're a game and a half back. And when you look at the Toronto situation, Toronto is 2.5 games ahead of Boston, and they're 3.5 games ahead of the Yankees, but they're not that much further off. They're 59-47, while the Red Sox are 56-49, and you have the Yankees who are 55-50. Funniest thing about it, Boston and the Yankees could lead the Central Division right now. Central Division, Guardians are only down a half a game, 53-53 on the season, while you have Minnesota who's 54-53. And then you have Texas, who's now only a game ahead of the Astros after being swept this weekend, and they're only 5 games ahead of the Angels, and they're 5.5 games ahead of Seattle. So you have the Angels in Seattle on the way, and then you have Houston, who's just gobbling up games on these guys. So pretty much it is what it is with this situation. Rangers struggling. They've dropped their last 7 out of 10. So these are things that you have to look at going into this week, that this is getting closer. And a lot of people have to understand that you can't go off of what happened in April and May and June. It's all about what happens in July, August, and September. I'm telling you, the first half of the season is usually a good little fill out period, but the second half of the season truly determines on which teams are the killers and which teams are the pretenders. It's that simple. And from what I'm seeing here, you have a situation with the American League wild card where you have 6 teams vying for that final spot. And Houston's the one occupying that final spot, but Houston's in position to take over their division. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And then you have in the National League, you have, like I said, now it's different, because in San Francisco and Arizona had these wild card spots kind of locked in on, but now Milwaukee and Miami have entered the chat. So now every team has 2 representatives for this situation as well too. So that's really good. And I think that okay. All right. So I thought Hamlin had another heart issue. I was like, damn, again. But yeah, I'm looking at this now, and the same thing goes for the National League pitcher. You have 6 teams vying for the final 2 spots, because Milwaukee and Miami are actually tied. So, man, we got parity. So let's go ahead and jump into our game today, and that's going to be our games today. Up first, Phillies and the Marlins. Phillies, Marlins, this is and we go back to what I was just talking about. You got the Phillies and Marlins chasing each other in the playoff picture, and they're a half a game behind the Marlins at this point. And both teams have lost their last 6 out of 10 as well, but Philly was playing some really great baseball, and now they're trying to get themselves in position to keep this run going. And so pretty much when I look at what's going on tonight, they got Taijuan Walker on the mound on one side. They got Edward Cabrera on the other side. I truly do feel like this game does wind up going over, because it just has over written all over it. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I do like the over in this spot, over 9.5. And I think that we're going to just get some runs in this spot tonight, because that's what the game is setting up to be. Because this is a big, this is a big moment. This is like a wild card in itself. You know what I mean? And you're trying to stay afloat. You're trying to get into the playoffs. So you got to put yourself in position to be in the playoffs. So this is a very key series this week. It's a 4-gamer as well too. So if they split, then Miami stays ahead. If Philly can get 3 out of 4, then Philly's ahead. So this is a very, very important series. You know what I mean? So with that, I'm going to take the over 9.5 in that spot tonight. We'll see how over 9 actually. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move from there. And what are your props today? We'll get your props in a second, nephew. Don't go anywhere. We want to see your props when we get to Talkin Tickets. All right, so we have the Angels and the Braves. This is one of my matchups today where I feel like you have two teams in place that one is good to go. They have an 11-game lead. It doesn't really matter if they got swept this week twice. They would still be well ahead of everybody in the American and the National League. Now you got the Angels who are kind of in a do or die situation now. They have to start winning games consistently. Losing the series this weekend was not good. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Blue Jays, another team that's chasing the playoffs as well too, who's already in the playoffs as well too. And you got to hold off the east side, and you got to hold off the Texas boys as well too. But it starts tonight in the game against the Braves, because the Braves are the toughest team in baseball. So the Angels have a good measuring stick right now to see exactly how skilled they truly are. So pretty much tonight, where I'm going with this one is it's going to be very simple. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this one a very simple spot for us tonight. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the Angels as our dog of the day today with the plus 155. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But I do like the Angels today with the plus 155 as the dog of the day today, with Griffin Canning on the mound as well too. Then we have ourselves the nightcapper tonight on our pick 6, and that's going to be the Dbacks and the Giants. This one right here is a good game. Dbacks seem to always play pretty good when they go to the Dbacks seem to always play pretty good when they go to, and actually, hold up. The Angels actually are going to be a plus 1.5. I'm sorry, I got them with the 1.5. But play them on as your dog of the day as well too. The Yanks are actually your dog of the day when you guys look at the pick 6, but the Angels are plus 1.5. But you can play them as a dog today as well too. Now, when it comes down to the Giants, I'm taking the money line on them tonight with the minus 145. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And this one is a very important game because now you got these two chasing that final playoff. You got these two chasing that number one wild card spot. And this is a very important series when you really get down to the gist of it as well, too. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to get into talking tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop Dbacks, the Primetime Capital. And I'll be right back at you.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into it. And we're going to go ahead talking tickets today. But we're going to see what Nephew got to say today. He's a pretty good gambler himself. He's more of a props guy than anything. But these are the player props that Nephew got for you guys today. Tatis Jr. over 2.5 bases. Acuna over 1.5 bases. Ellie over 1.5 bases. Gomber 6 hits. Gives up 6 hits over. Edward Cabrera over 4 hits today. So there it is. There it is. What is the odds on that bad boy if they parlay it as well too, Nephew? Get us the information for that, so then I can give them that as well too. It looks like it's probably a 40-1 from my estimate. I don't know exactly what the odds are on the situation, but I would say this: most 6-1s if you put them all 110s, they'll be a 40-1 ticket most times, you know what I mean, or 50-1 ticket. But let's go ahead, jump into talking tickets, and I got the MLB Series Bets for you guys to start off this week. As I said before, 4-gamer with the Phillies minus 115 this week to start off the week. And then we also have the Yankees minus 105 in their series. We have the Jays minus 170 in their series. Then I'm going for the upset this week with the Angels plus 275. And then I also have the minus 165 with the Cubbies. And then we got the plus 130 with the Red Sox. Those are going to be our MLB Series Bets for this week. And then we have ourselves the PrimeTime PK6, 47-1, the over 8.5 with the Phillies and the Marlins. Then we have the Brewers 1.5 tonight, minus 120. Then we also have the Yankees plus 120 as our dog of the day. Then we have the Angels plus 1.5, minus 115. Then we have the under 11.5 with the Padres and the Rockies. And then we finish up with the Giants minus 145 on the money line. So that's a 47-1 ticket. And let's see exactly what we have from Nephew. And it looks like okay, 5 for 125. So that would be I would say a 6-1 bet. No, not 6-1. 525, 250. 10 gets you 250. It will be a 25-1 ticket. So yeah, 25-1 ticket there. You guys can go ahead and play it. And like he said, he's giving you the numbers right here: 5 for 125, 10 for 250, and 20 for 500. So you guys have that. Hey, you put up 100, you get yourself 2,500. So you never know, because some I got guys on here that got real money that watch this show. So pretty much it is what it is at the end of the day, but that's going to be our talking tickets for today. Tomorrow we'll be back talking a whole lot of college football. I got the AAC preview coming up for you guys. That's what it's all going to be about. AAC preview and talking tickets. AAC preview and the MLB and talking tickets. That's what it's going to be all about. And I'm about to jump on here and be very, very focused off top with that as well too. So you guys get ready for that. We're going to talk about the brand new AAC, and I'm going to give you guys all my over under win totals and who wins that conference as well too. So with that, you guys are the absolute best, and we'll be back tomorrow. So this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop Dbacks, the Primetime Capper. As I say daily, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.